I love it, Uma. Once more, I love this. That looks great. That outfit looks great. Okay, thanks. During Kill Bill, Uma Thurman crashed a car going 40 miles per hour. Even though the brakes weren't working, Quentin Tarantino told her to drive it. She hurt her knees when she hit a palm tree. But the story didn't end with that crash. The video was kept secret for 15 years. Harvey Weinstein wouldn't let it go. Unless she agreed not to sue. What took place in the 45 minutes following the crash? No one talks about that part. Today, we're going to find the truth that Hollywood tried to hide. Her birthday is April 29, 1970, and she was born in Boston, Massachusetts. She had a Swedish-German model mother named Nina von Schlebrug. Her family had fled Nazi Germany in the 1930s through connections with the upper class. Robert Thurman was her father. He was an American Buddhist expert who had met the Dalai Lama in 1959 and had spent his whole life studying Tibetan Buddhism. Even though their lives couldn't have been more different, they made a strange home full of faith and culture. The family moved to Almora when Uma was only 6 months old. Indian state of Uttarakhand, where her dad studied Tibetan books for 2 years. She remembers the quiet beat of ashrams, the sound of Sanskrit chants, and the peace of the mountain air. She felt like she was different from everyone else during those first few years. She once said that growing up in the West made her feel like an outsider because she was influenced by a theory that not many people around her understood. Robert became a professor at Amherst College in 1972, when the family moved back to Amherst, Massachusetts. Even though it looked like a safe life, it was never really one. Her mother traveled all over the world as a model, and her father often went back to India for work. Uma lived in boxes and moved around a lot when she was a kid. She had been to more than a dozen by the time she was 15. People teased her because she was tall and thin, and she was already 6 feet tall when she was in her early teens. She felt weird, shy, and like she didn't belong anywhere. But being restless and always on the move taught her to really watch people. It helped her understand how people feel, which would become one of her strengths on screen. The Thurman house was not like other homes. Uma had a half-sister named Taya and 3 brothers named Gondin, Deshan, and Mipam from her father's first marriage. Philosophers talked, meatless meals were eaten, and long arguments about the world happened in their home. Uma's family moved to Woodstock, New York, when she was 10 years old. There, art and faith seemed to float through the air. She learned how to act there. The school shows gave her a way to escape. Even though her dyslexia made it hard for her to understand scripts, she found raw emotional power in performing. Though words sometimes fail, hearts never did. Her later work was based on this mix of thought and feeling. Uma chose to want more when she was 14. She quit school early and went to New York to sign with Click Models. She stood out because of her beautiful blonde hair, tall frame, and deep eyes. It moved quickly in the modeling world. He took the picture for the cover of British Vogue when she was 15. She was on the cover of Glamour and another Vogue magazine in 1986, but behind the scenes, she felt empty. The constant posing, the comments, and the way people talked about her body instead of her thoughts wore her down. She quit modeling when she was 16. She quietly signed up for acting classes in Manhattan with the money she had made. She went to school there instead of other places. Their clothes were bare and tight. Lots of glitz. She learned how to stop breathing, speak, and be quiet. Teachers saw something in her that made her want to dig deep. She almost kept it a secret that she was learning acting by not telling many people. She was able to start over, away from the cameras and the stress. After a year, her hard work paid off. She got her first movie part when she was 17. She was in the 1987 movie Kiss Daddy, Good Night, which was about a young woman who flirts with and robs men. Not many people saw it, but it brought her to the public's attention. For someone her age, the part was dangerous and even shocking, and it got a lot of attention in the tabloids. The people who reviewed her work saw something honest and raw in it. The movie didn't last long, but it showed that she was brave enough to play tense parts. That bravery became what she was known for. During the same year, she was in another low-budget movie that no one could watch. Still, people in the business started to pay attention to her. The way she made people feel was magnetic. It was hard to forget her, even in dull movies. One of them was an agent who thought she could do great things if she kept her mind on the task at hand. Uma was still scared and didn't know what to think of herself, but she kept saying yes to chances. She also started dating artist Norman Powyn seriously when she was 17. Who had 11 years on them. For a short time, it was intense. When you're young, this kind of relationship feels like something out of this world. A lot of people thought badly of her, but she did what her heart told her to do, and she would do that a lot more in the years to come. She learned early on that her gut feelings would lead her more than anything else, even if they were wrong. She had a part in the 1988 movie Johnny Be Good, which starred Anthony Michael Hall and was a crazy football comedy. The movie was supposed to be fun, but it didn't do well at all. Still, Uma learned something from it. For her at the time, $30,000 for just 12 days of work was a lot of money. The movie cost $22 million to make but only made $17.5 million. But her fire stood out. She found balance even when things were crazy. When critics saw her, they said she brought life to a movie that would have been dull otherwise. Everything changed that year. She got the part of Cécile de Velange in Dangerous Liaisons, a young girl who gets caught in a web of seduction and lying. She was only 18 years old when Glenn Close, Michelle Pfeiffer, and John Malkovich were all around her. She had to give her all for the part, both physically and emotionally. Something rare and dangerous for someone her age, she had to film sexy scenes. Still, she carried them with such poise that even the crew was shocked. When the movie came out in early 1989, reviewers praised how deep she was. The movie made over $68 million around the world and was nominated for 7 Oscars. All of a sudden, Uma's name was everywhere. She wasn't trying to act like she used to be a model. She was an actress, but a lot of people looked up to her. In the fall of that same year, she worked on The Adventures of Baron Munchausen by Terry Gilliam. Venus is the goddess of love, and she played her in a beautiful but tiring scene where she floated above the clouds in a big seashell. There were budget cuts, site changes, and a lot of reshoots while the movie was being made. Her back hurt so much that she had to hide it for up to 16 hours a day while she hung from a chain. When the movie came out, her part was only 10 minutes long, but it was memorable. She became a better artist and a better person because of it. Uma Thurman's early years in movies were already tense because of the difference between how she really felt and what the camera could see. Oliver Stone's 1990 movie The Doors put her in the part of Jim Morrison's girlfriend Pamela Courson, and she gave it all she had. She broke down on set over and over again, even though the script didn't tell her exactly how to move or cry. She used her own life to show Pamela's crazy mood swings and deep confusion. She wanted the relationship to be real and messy. The movie was cut together, and a lot of the emotional work was cut out. It wasn't just another sad rock story. Stone built the story around Morrison, and Thurman saw as her parts were cut down, softened, and changed. There were even limits on what could be shown by Pamela Courson's office. So she couldn't talk about her deeper role in Morrison's death. On screen, she played a woman who was only slightly like the one she had tried to play. She felt trapped because she was the foreign beauty who lived on the edge of someone else's story. She took her anger with her to the next level of her work. She played Glory, a woman caught in the web of a mobster, in the 1993 movie Mad Dog and Glory, which starred Robert De Niro and Bill Murray. It made around $10 million. Which wasn't a big deal, but one scene on a random date changed how a lot of people saw her. She began to make things up as she sat across from De Niro. There were shy smiles and quick, teasing answers that had never been written down, so the flirting felt natural and free. After the fact, critics said that was a time when she mixed light humor with a soft sensitivity. Behind the camera, the company asked for more takes. That changed the last fight and made the ending less shocking so people could handle it. On reflex, she moved into the middle of the frame even though she was only 21 years old at the time. She and De Niro got along great, which made a dark crime story more interesting. Plus, some people didn't like the movie, but those who did often remembered her more than anything else. The same antsy energy came out again when Gus Van Sant cast her in the movie Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. Also came out in 1993. Thurman played the wild and unusual part of Sissy Hankshaw, a hitchhiker with big thumbs who goes from lonely roads to fashion shows to a ranch full of women who don't fit in. The movie caused a lot of trouble right away. It had explicit love scenes between women and a focus on Sissy's thumbs that a lot of people found creepy or just plain weird. She was nominated for a Razzie for Worst Actress for all her bravery, which could have made her feel bad and made her play it safe. The story wouldn't go away, though. Strange movie fans kept it, shared it, and quoted it, and over time it became a cult favorite. The story went from Sissy's life on the highway to modeling and then to a strange battle when the cowgirls take over a ranch and won't let go. There was a time when the women even drug-hooped cranes with peyote, which the crowd saw as so strange that it felt like a dare. Even though her critics had strong opinions, the fact that she was willing to give such an odd part her all showed that she wasn't afraid of taking risks, even when it wasn't clear what the reward would be. That part came after her work on the sex thriller Final Analysis, which she began in 1992. And played a different kind of scary woman. She shared the screen with Richard Gere and Kim Basinger as the sexy sister of a therapist. People remember the movie most for the steamy shower scene between Thurman and Gere. At the time, this scene was very different from what most people thought a big studio action would be like. Even though it had a lot of big names in it, the movie only made about $16 million, which wasn't very much. Also, her character didn't get much attention because the story was so complicated and the atmosphere was so noir. Still, that scene in the shower caused a lot of discussion. Some called it brave, while others said it made her seem like nothing more than a desire symbol. Again, she added a strong presence to a story that was mostly about men, which hinted at what she would do when the story was finally about her. In the end, all of these projects reached a point where they could no longer go any further. A fight had already broken out between her and Oliver Stone over how to show Pamela Courson on the doors. She wanted to keep the unplanned fights and strange behavior because she thought that real women are confusing, angry, tender, and hard to predict. Not just pretty women standing next to famous guys. There was more going on in her head than just cutting those scenes. It seemed like the business was telling her what kind of woman she could play. Not being able to do things didn't go away. It changed how she read stories and how she saw directors who only wanted her good looks and not her whole range of emotions. In a quiet way, it got her ready for the day when she would have to carry her own story instead of just being around someone else's. That day came with Kill Bill, and she knew right away that this part would require a lot of her. To become Beatrix Kiddo, she put herself through more than 6 months of brutal training, working 8 hours a day with barely any time to breathe. There are 3 types of kung fu she learned. She also trained in 2 types of sword work, knife throwing, and close fighting with her hands. She even learned the basics of Japanese so that when she spoke on camera, the words wouldn't sound like they were taken from somewhere else. She later said that the whole program was silly because of how hard it was on her body. At the same time, she had just given birth, so she was pushing a tired body that was still healing into a body that could fight. She slowly gained about 20 pounds of strength and became able to swing a sword, kick, or take a hit without losing her train of thought. She did the same things over and over again. Worked out, sparred with friends, and practiced long chains of choreography. She was sore, hurt, and worn out after those events. But her body learned all of them. She said that even after all these years, she could still remember long parts of fights without thinking about them. It was like the moves were written right into her muscles. In Kill Bill Volume 1, the House of Blue Leaves scene turned all that work into one long moving nightmare that people will never forget. She holds a real Hattori Hanzo sword that weighs about 45 pounds and fights more than 100 actors who are playing members of the Crazy 88 in that scene. The action was planned by Yuan Wu-ping, who also planned the fights in The Matrix. He also treated the scene like a dance, where one slip-up would ruin the whole show. Since the cameras were rolling for a long time, quick cuts could not be used to hide a mistake. Even though Thurman broke 3 toes in all the chaos, she wouldn't stop. She took her own pain and turned it into the bride's anger, making the character even more angry. Even though the extras wore helmets and protective vests, they still got hurt and were very tired because the sword was big and the pace was fast. When you watch it, you can feel all of that. She feels like her body gives up something with each swing. Every fall looks like it leaves a mark, and you can feel how hard she worked on the whole routine. She was more than just what she did for the camera. Thurman was always interested in Japanese culture, which led to the creepy animated scene of Oren Ishii's youth with its bloody snow and quiet revenge. She became interested in foreign films and art while moving through India as a girl, because they were different from what she knew. While she was working with Quentin Tarantino, she backed the idea of animating part of Kill Bill so that the movie could quickly become the dark, stylized story she liked. The project was taken on by the famous studio production IG, which was led by director Kazuto Nakazawa. Together, they made a scene that shows Oren's parents being killed by the Yakuza, her grief as a child, her rise to become an assassin, and her final act of payback. The story is like Beatrix Kiddo's own life, and it makes the movie more moving. It was risky, but it paid off. Kill Bill made more than $180 million around the world, and many reviewers said that the anime part showed how risky the movie really was. Thurman's name being put forward for a Golden Globe was due in large part to months of hand-drawn work and careful syncing of picture to script. She was pushed to her limits even more in the second book, especially in the scene with the burial and rising. At that point in Kill Bill Volume 2, Thurman agreed to lie down in a real coffin that had been built into a set and made to feel really boxed in. 12 times, they shot the scene. For each take, I had to go back into that small wooden box, feel the door close, and fall back into darkness. She has talked about how her dyslexia makes her feel a certain way about worry. And the worry made this experience even stronger. But she kept going because she knew the bride had to really be scared for the crowd. To think that escape. In order for people to understand that this wasn't just a light trick, the team made the space as small as possible. During the long days of filming, David Carradine, who played Bill, helped her feel safe. His calm presence on set helped her pay attention. Even though she was supposed to play a woman who was about to lose it. The quiet things they said to each other during and around that scene shaped the emotional core of the story's last part. You can tell an actor is scared and anxious by the way she plays her role in She Punches Her Way Out of That Grave. It feels like a real fight to stay alive. The needs didn't go away even after the main work on the movies was done. Thurman had to do a nasty scene with Daryl Hannah where they poked each other in the eyes during reshoots. The stunt was meant to look violent, and as they did it over and over, the close contact, sudden movements, and half-controlled hits caused real cuts and blood. He didn't move out of the way and let a double handle it. She was adamant about being in the picture. Later, Quentin Tarantino said that she was the toughest actress he had ever worked with, citing times when she kept coming back to the set like this. Even though it hurts and there is risk. When the movie is all said and done, that scene is almost painful to watch because her face shows real fear and stress. They come from being hit and feeling real emotional pain. Uma Thurman went through one of the worst times of her career in January 2003, when she was in Mexico shooting the last few days of Kill Bill. She had already said that she was nervous about a scene where she had to drive a 1973 Karmann Ghia convertible on a rough dirt road. It didn't feel safe in the car. A member of the team told her that the brakes weren't very good, but Quentin Tarantino made her drive it herself anyway. Uma asked for a trick driver, but she wasn't given one. As she sped up to almost 40 miles per hour, the cameras were rolling. The car spun out of control and crashed into a palm tree when she hit an unexpected turn. The crash smashed into the front of the car, which made her head snap back. She was shocked. She was in a lot of pain in her neck and knees. For 45 minutes, there was no doctor. She found out later that she had a concussion, hurt her knee badly, and hurt her C6 and C7 vertebrae in a way that would last. It wasn't just her body that was broken in that crash. It changed her security, her sense of safety, and how she thought about the job she had really cared about. Tarantino would say it was the worst thing he ever did years later. He said he should have checked the road again because he didn't know there was an S-shaped bend. Or how smooth the sand really was. It hurt him to see her crash. It hurt his feelings, he said. Years later, he finally gave Uma the video. He knew it would hurt his image, but he also felt she deserved to know the truth. On a personal level, Uma forgiven him, but she blamed the directors. She said that the way they handled safety rules was criminal carelessness. She would always be hurt and have a deep mental scar from that day that would not go away for years. What next? Made things worse. The crash footage was kept secret for 15 years by Harvey Weinstein and his team at Miramax. They wouldn't give it to her unless she signed a paper giving up her right to sue. She said Weinstein sexually abused her during the same time they were working together. Later, she said that he cornered her in a hotel in Paris and tried to get her to go into a steam room. She also said that he pushed himself on her in London, while she tried hard to escape. It was very bad for her and broke all of her faith, she said. Years later, in 2020, at Weinstein's trial, she talked about the attack and how her crash video was hidden. She talked about how those events made her feel alone and cheated, cutting her off from the people she used to work closely with. It was her voice that was heard the most in the fight for fairness and responsibility in Hollywood. After the accident, she had to go to physical treatment for many years. It made her weak. And being able to move around like she used to. She stopped taking parts that required a lot of big stunts or long shoots. She had to deal with pain every day. Still, the fact that she spoke out gave other people confidence. Her story was very important to the dark Me Too movement. She showed not only how the abuse was hidden, but also the society that let it happen. People have always thought of Uma Thurman as strong, but now the world had a new view of her power. Not with movie scenes, but with the truth. It felt like a quiet win when she came back to the screen with the producers in 2005. She had never played music before, but she worked hard for months to learn how to sing, dance, and speak with a Swedish accent. She did every part of the role herself, with no copies. People saw a different side of her after the movie came out. The reviewers liked how lively she was and how naturally she managed comedy. And she was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical. The movie made over $38 million. Even after everything, it showed that she could still change and shine. After 3 years, My Super Ex-Girlfriend came out. It was silly and fun, but there was pain behind the humor. Because she had to wear knee braces on set, she couldn't move around as much. To protect her legs, the stunt teams changed the routine. Still, she gave the part everything she had. The movie made $61 million, and people loved how she was both strong and vulnerable. She laughed at herself, the warrior she used to be, and the way she looked. That made her even more like a person. It was in 2010 that she played the evil Medusa in Percy Jackson and the Olympians. The headpiece she wore cost $50,000 and was so heavy that it made her allergic and made it hard for her to breathe. Even though it hurt, she kept working and took antihistamines in between takes. Medusa became something unique because of how hard she worked. Behind her calm face, people could feel the real struggle. That may be why the act stuck with them. Nymphomaniac then came along. In 2013. The part was honest, angry, and brave. She played a woman who had been hurt by betrayal, and it was so real that the stress could be felt by the team. Seeing those scenes made her feel old feelings again, and she later said that it made her face her own past again. People had different opinions, but no one forgot about her. It was clear that she was brave. She didn't do what you wanted. She did what she did to be honest. In 2017, she started streaming with Imposters on Netflix. She played Maddie, a smart con artist who could both fool and steal people. She was able to experience different levels of control, lying, and feeling on the show. She joined the show almost by accident after watching the pilot at home. Because of a problem with the technology, it interested her in some way. People saw again how she could move between danger and love, power and pain, because the part fit her so well. In one look, they were all there. There were storms in her personal life too. That same year, she had a child. In 1997, she met Ethan Hawke on the set of Gattaca. They got married in 1998. Their son Levon was born in 2002, but by 2003, they were no longer together. Tabloids were full of stories about Ethan and their nanny. In 2005, they got divorced. She didn't say much about it, but you could tell she was hurting. Ethan later said that the whole thing made him feel bad. In 2008, he got married again, and life went on, but that time together cast a shade over both of them. There were also lies, like the one that said she sold her wedding pictures for $1 million. She really never did. After the split, she did get her freedom back. With new jobs and a good cash settlement, she turned her attention back to her work instead of her wounds. In the early 1990s, she was linked to Robert De Niro. Later, she was linked to hotel owner Andre Bolish, whose high-class lifestyle kept her in the public eye for years. Over the course of 10 years, they were together, and there were lots of parties and chaos. When more accusations were made against him during the Sakabibio B2 wave, Uma's name was once again in the news, showing how closely fame and scandal are often linked. Her family also had some hard times. Taya, her half-sister, had been addicted to drugs for a long time. Uma quietly stepped in to help by paying for her treatment and being there for her. When Dash Snow, Taya's son and an artist, died of an accident at age 27. It was very hard on the family. After Uma got hurt, she stopped taking drugs. This helped her understand the trap of addiction even better. The family got through it, but not without pain and stress. That broke her heart again when she got into a custody fight with Arpit Bosen, the father of her daughter Luna and a French financier. Their relationship had been rough from the start. They got engaged, broke up, and then got back together. And then fought for years in court over who would care for Luna. The case went on and on in 2017 with lots of lawyers and news coverage until Uma was given main custody. The picture of her helping Luna into a car outside of the building became a symbol of how strong a mother can be when she fights for peace after years of chaos. She found something kinder in the last few years. She has been with Justin B. Smith, a man in the media business who is known for keeping his personal life quiet, since 2021. Focusing on family and balance, they stay out of the public eye. Now Uma talks about therapy, getting stable, and picking quiet over noise. She has 2 kids, Maya and Levon. They are both artists and are making their own paths in the business. Uma Thurman, the woman who was once badly hurt in a car accident in Mexico, stands tall again. She is scarred but steady, and she is no longer acting to please other people. She is living her life on her own terms.